was lying there in the VA hospital.
Narration.
Sooner or later, though, you always have to wake up.
Blue shadowing.
And since your genome is identical to his, you could step into his shoes.
Hey, generic government guys, do you want to maybe save the recruitment speech for when his brother isn't being cremated in front of him? You know, just as a courtesy. Also, f*** you for making me even consider Googling, are people allowed to watch cremation through a tiny window? Flying, flying, still flying, landing, landing. Still landing. Still landing. Excitement? I want to say this will be the only FFS, FLL, SLSSLE sin that we have in this movie, but it isn't.
Yeah, they fully mature on the flight out.
But who braids their hair around their jiggling bonding bits? Maybe they're born with it? Maybe it's make-believe.
Who's got my goddamn cigarette?
Who needs character development when you can just rely on an addiction? Am I right? Also, if Dr. Grace regularly wakes up super pissy, why not use a patch in the in-between times? It would save her from being feared by her colleagues and allow her to avoid the horrific activity of smoking cigarettes that are pre-lit by someone else. Cigarettes already taste like Satan's shit-lined smokestack filtered through a hairy Tasmanian devil's infected anal glands. There's no reason to add the extra taste of someone else having lit it.
She wrote the book. I mean, literally wrote the book.
Bragging about authors. Everyone knows that books lead to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffer-reading.
I know who you are, and I don't need you. I need your brother. You know, the PhD who trained for 3 years for this mission.
They seem to have made Dr. Grace super mean in this scene, and considering that she's pretty friendly for the rest of the movie, it seems to almost be for purely expositional purposes. Except her exposition is like a sandpaper exfoliant.
He has no business sticking his nose in my department.
We all came here for the blue aliens on the magical planet. Many of us came prepared with edibles already on board. Why are we pretending like the departments haven't talked about plans already? Or at the very least, aren't familiar with who is in charge of various decisions that allow humans onto the planet in the first place? Get me to the planet before the political tension kills my fucking buzz.
You know, I used to think it was benign neglect, but now I see that you're intentionally screwing me.
My college girlfriend's Yelp review of our last intimate connection somehow makes its way into the script.
I need a researcher, not some jarhead dropout.
He's not a fucking dropout. He was severely wounded in the line of duty. I can understand these assholes being assholes to him because that's their shtick. They're assholes. But aren't we supposed to be rooting for Grace at some point?
How is this in any way lucky?
Well, lucky your guy had a twin brother, and lucky that brother wasn't some oral hygienist or something.
That's oral hygienist.
You're supposed to be winning the hearts and the minds of the natives. Isn't that the whole point of your little puppet show? If you look like them and you talk like them, then they'll start trusting us.
I guess by the 2150s, they just stopped teaching about American history or colonialism.
This is why we're here. Unobtainium.
Yes, unobtainium, because can't fucking get it right, useful for reasons 8, and plotesium are just too on the nose.
This little gray rock sells for $20 million a kilo.
And yet I leave it floating on my desk, just in case I need it for expositional purposes or a fucking paperweight.
How much have you logged?
Zip, but I read a manual.
Tell me you're joking.
So now it's quite clear to everyone that the person operating an avatar has zero understanding of anything. This would be a great time to plan a little debrief before his first body jump about a few key things, like, for example, where to piss and shit in the woods, or more importantly, what happens to you if your avatar dies.
Kiss the darkest part of my lily white.
Having seen many a white lily in my day, if I were to kiss the darkest petally part, it would be sort of a deep yellow color. So now for the remainder of the movie, we can all envision Jake's asshole being a deep sunshine hue and be disgusted by his nasty diet. The next 47 minutes are dedicated to Jake not obeying orders, while everyone is initially excited to see this cool alien creature. I can only hear Jake, 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 no, so many times before I want to get the fucking spray bottle.
Jake!
Jake!
Listen to me. You're not used to your avatar body.
This is dangerous.
Jake has logged 0 hours of avatar training, and yet no one was prepared for a totally understandable out-of-body freakout. Everyone was just like, sure, let's unleash this 10-foot carbon fiber beast being controlled by a brain it wasn't even initially built for. What's the worst that can happen? Who forgot to lock the fucking door to the super most important room with super expensive alien things? Tom Cruise isn't running in an avatar body in this scene.
Think fast.
Why would he assume any of this is edible? Putting anything in your mouth on an alien planet is a dumb idea.
That's kind of freaky.
It is the fucking nighttime and still nothing has been explained to him about the Na'vi, like, at all.
I'm Trudy.
Movie transitions to introducing Trudy, rather than showing us the scene of Jake getting his ass handed to him by the medical team after giving the finger to protocol and wrecking their shit.
Watch it!
The opening 20 minutes of this movie is 20% Jake bumping into things, which unfortunately only left room for a bajillion minutes of exposition. Someone approved setting up some weightlifting gear in this fucking weapons locker all so that we'd be certain of Colonel Rogue Warfare's ass-swolery.
Pandora will shit you out dead with zero warning.
It would appear that Quaritch is contractually obligated to start every interaction with a pithy one-liner about how much Pandora is ready to kill whoever he is talking to.
I want you to gain their trust. I need to know how to force their cooperation or hammer them hard if they won't. Can you do that for me, son?
Hell yeah, sir.
Yeah, that wasn't just a yes, sir. That was a hell yes, sir. We're supposed to be rooting for a protagonist that is all in, helping screw the Na'vi until, of course, he actually screws one of them and decides to do the right thing by screwing the original screwers. I realize I'm not supposed to understand the science behind linking a human to a Na'vi body, but I'm already confused about how Jake's consciousness stays linked at great distances. And maybe I'm just pissed off because I am yet to successfully connect a Bluetooth device to anything, but I'm still sitting the hand waviness of this tech.
Shut it down, we're gonna stay a while!
That wasn't clear before now? Are none of the mission parameters decided ahead of time?
They're not aggressive.
Maybe calm the hothead down at the copter thing before letting him scare shoot his way through the jungle?
Norm, you've contaminated the sample with your saliva.
Does the movie really benefit from making Norm, who is supposed to be a trained scientist, a total dumbass? I would think the competition to join the Avatar program would be pretty fierce. So is the very slight chuckle from the audience really worth making him look dumber than he should be? Oh no. He's gonna do it, isn't he? He's gonna touch the alien plant thingy that could poison him and either kill him or give him the shits for the rest of his life. Yep, there he goes. Fucking idiot! Why do people touch things in dangerous situations? Did reaching out and gripping your mom's curling iron when you were a toddler teach you nothing about touching things?
It's a territorial threat display. Do not run, or he'll charge.
So we've established pretty clearly that no one on the science side of things has briefed Jake. But now we see that the military hasn't bothered either. Colonel Pandora will piss in your eye hole and knows he's on protection duty. So shouldn't he have at least covered how to deal with the Pandorasaurs that are most likely to kill you?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, bitch.
Premature cell avataration. Do I understand how predatory animals work on Pandora? No, of course I don't. Do I believe that this panther rhino would leap over a meal instead of just ripping into it? No, of course I don't.
Run, don't run, what?
Run! Definitely run!
Or shoot. Maybe shoot. Definitely shoot.
We're not allowed to run night ops. Colonel's orders. Sorry, Doc. He's just gonna have to hang on till morning.
People chipped their goddamn luggage, so the Army would certainly track the Avatar bodies that cost millions of dollars. But apparently, all investors, scientists, military strategists, and janitors have yet to figure out a Find My Foe feature.
He won't make it till morning.
But we're gonna leave anyway, because there's no way the we can't operate at night BS would be overruled to save our $1 million investment. Oh, and the plot needs him to spend the night here, too. And because Jake is apparently the Messiah once spoken, we're supposed to be totally fine with all the jungle critters being murdered for it was foretold as such. Acting like an ungrateful moron when a sacred tree seeds all over you. This naive Na'vi nativity goes on for all of eternity.
We have tried to teach other sky people. It is hard to fill a cup which is already full.
A full cup suggests that humans already know everything, and humans do not need another ego boost right now. Use a better metaphor, like it's hard to fill a lidded cup, or teaching a rock to be water is as fruitless as a dead tree. Better idea, just use plain words. You are an ass, and move on.
Their damn village happens to be resting on the richest unobtainium deposit within 200 clicks in any direction.
I'm assuming that the planet is larger than 200 clicks in any direction, so why the f don't they go somewhere else to find the unobtainium? Forget the moral issues. Isn't the trade-off of not having to commit a ton of time and resources to relocate an entire village worth going after a yield that's farther away?
Find me a carrot that'll get them to move. Otherwise, it's gonna have to be all stick, okay?
You got 3 months.
But we're wasting time.
Jake has just listened to a speech about how profits are valued more than the killing of indigenous people, and he is still on board with this plan?
Okay, let's run through them again.
Moat, Dragon Lady.
This Na'vi character recap brought to you by Not Trusting the Audience Incorporated. Also, Dragon Lady? What the f about this spiritual leader screams Dragon Lady? And why the f is Grace okay with this as Jake's way of remembering her? I have it on good authority that the writers had a roulette wheel of animals and just spun to decide what to make Pandora's version of a horse look like, and the anteater won. But there was an argument about that being stupid, so they spun again and got zebra, and again for an armadillo. And in an effort to avoid the emotional uprising and the creative clash, everyone won. And that is why participation trophies are dumb.
So where are we going?
Getting out of Dodge?
And let me tell you the exact location of our mobile link-up site so that you may continue to f our scientific mission when we know you are a mole for the muscle upstairs.
The legendary floating mountains of Pandora? Heard of them?
Norm's character swings into being the giant dickhole for approximately 15 minutes of the movie, presumably, so we feel something when he eventually stops being a massive dickhole later. Well, the joke's on you, because I'll stop feeling anything when the horsies start dying.
Look at my instruments.
Yep, we're in the flux vortex.
Okay, the movie gets some credit for not using the word quantum, but the flux vortex is gibberish. It definitely pushes this movie's several conveniences past its accepted MacGuffin quotient. One thing this movie absolutely nails is creating the world of Pandora, and the floating mountains are a great example of that. Here's a set-off for the movie and for Disney World. But also, how do they work? Yes, I know, something superconductors, but I shouldn't have to read an entire reference book just because I want to understand how the anti-grav mountains work.
But I had what she needed. A way back in with the clan.
Grace is a dick. She knows that Jake is being used by the Colonel and Selfridge to undermine the Na'vi, but allows him to continue because she's also using him to get to the Na'vi to continue her research, meaning that she's okay with them being exploited one way or the other as long as she gets her data, and yet again, this is someone we're supposed to be rooting for by the end of the movie. So Seze is a jump-scaring dick, with or without 3D glasses on. Perhaps I'm not in a place to criticize evolution on an alien planet, but how does spinning around and drawing maximum attention to yourself serve as a fucking defense mechanism? Instead of just getting eaten, this poor bastard gets dizzy and then gets eaten.
Now you choose your Ikran.
Sure, they sell it as a symbiotic thing, but I really want to see the other side of this story where the Banshee population is attempting to escape centuries of being enslaved by the Na'vi. This Ikran taming is a great sequence, but this part of the movie wrangles, falls with style, and then Top Gun's on for all of some time.
First flight seals the bond. You cannot wait.
We have only given the audience 12 seconds to catch their breath. Quickly, jump off the cliff and give them a visual orgasm that will delight them for centuries while surreptitiously distracting them from the terrible logical holes in every decision we make.
Bank left.
So does all the Banshee's will and self-determination just evaporate upon being enslaved for life by the Na'vi? Or just when it's required to be cinematic and shit? Also, I once rode this ride at Disney and I was with a very tall friend who, ironically, couldn't fit onto the Banshee mobile because it clamps down painfully on tall people's knees. The Na'vi are f***ing 9 feet tall, so f*** you, Disney World, for ruining tall people's fun when tall people are who the ride is about in the first place.
The Tree of Souls. It's their most sacred place.
1 hour and 14 minutes in, and we are still being exposited at. Look, world building is great, but at some point, you're going to have to actually be a movie.
I would die to get samples.
She's going to die getting those samples, isn't she? So the great Leonopteryx sees 2 tasty treats, gives chase, but then gives up after being faced with a few vines? Am I supposed to be impressed by Big Bird here or the vines? Foreshadowing. Are they saying that the Banshee has bone in its eye?
It is Toruk, last shadow.
Yeah, right. It's the last one you ever see.
Unless there are vines!
My grandfather's grandfather was Toruk Makto, writer of Last Shadow.
And if it is an exposition, it's a f***ing Fably history lesson.
Navia. Luyo.
I love how much care and attention went into the creation of the Na'vi and Pandora. Cameron even hired someone to create their f***ing language. My frustration is that this is balanced against the shallowest, wafer-thin caricatures of humanity, which are represented by greedy capitalism, a single-minded military, and a white savior. If this movie gave Pandora a Silmarillion, it left humanity with a paint-by-numbers book that doesn't use numbers above 2. Ugh. Okay, take a sin off, you stunningly beautiful bastard of a movie.
You are a Motikaya now.
I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to sin Natiri and Omitikaya here for straight naivete. They've had years and years of bad experiences with humans, and yet they're still happy to introduce a Marine to the most sacred and sensitive parts of their society. I know Awa gave Natiri that sign with the magic dandelions and shit, but could you have maybe given it more than a few months?
You may make your bow from the wood of the home tree.
Listen, there are a lot of metaphors in this movie, so I just need someone to tell me if she's being literal or if she's talking about f***ing. I suppose this is as good a time as any to sin the convenience of every strand of hair or leaf that covers the nipple, serving to indicate that the Na'vi are just as nipplist as we are. I'm so bummed that these people don't kiss with their linky tails.
I'm with you now, Jake. We are mated for life.
Okay, can we stop for a second? Talk about how f***ed up it is that Jake is choosing a woman right now? He knows shit is about to go down. F*** that. He knows he's a human puppeteering a Na'vi body. And so does she. So we're at the end of the 3 months, which is when Jake was told the bulldozers were going to arrive, and yet he hasn't even begun the relocation negotiations with the Umbidikaya. What did he think was going to happen? That as soon as he was inducted, he'd be able to say, hey, my people are coming to steal the rocks under your tree to fuel their spaceship, so you better get moving. We cool?
Dude, whoa, dude, no! Oh, I'm blind!
If the operator needs these cameras in order to work the bulldozer, why the f*** would these exposed ones up here be the only option?
Scale up. Enhance.
Zoom and enhance cliche.
Son of a bitch. Unbelievable.
Is it though? Quaritch literally just said,
Starting to doubt your resolve.
so why is this a shocking development?
You can't interrupt a link in progress! It's very dangerous!
So dangerous that it will happen multiple times throughout the rest of the movie with no ill effects to anyone. So off with your false tension, Norm.
Those trees were sacred to the Omaticaya.
Yep, super sacred. So sacred that after years of research, you would think it would have been documented and available for review in a dossier. Not that they would have looked at it, but at the very least, this conversation wouldn't be a scientist trying to explain something important after the fact, which Dr. Grace is clearly doing in this scene. I just don't understand how an operation this big, with all the investors trying to avoid a war if possible, would only just now be talking about how to avoid a war.
Hey, Doc, come take a look.
They're not gonna give up their home.
Holy shit. Is this supposed to be some sort of big, ooh, gotcha moment? Of course they're reading his logs. Where the f did he think his log was going? To his mom?
Since a deal can't be made, I guess things get real simple.
The amount of leaps to war this movie makes is about as vast as the network Dr. Grace is attempting to describe to the people with guns. Fine, whatever. We need our third act conflict to drive us toward the movie's big set piece climax, but, actually there's no but. We don't have to end every movie this way.
You have to leave, or you're gonna die.
Are you certain of this?
Jake will now totally incriminate himself and admit that he's been on a mission all along to gain their trust so that he could convince them to move. This greatly pisses off basically every Navi in earshot and undermines any chance he has of them listening to him. I'm not saying coming clean isn't the right thing to do, but did he have to clear his conscience right now? I think a simple look at the giant bulldozers, of course they're coming to kill you, would have sufficed. What happens now is everyone gets mad, ignores Jake, and attempts to fight the humans anyway, which I'm pretty sure is the exact opposite outcome Jake was looking for.
Look, at first, it was just orders, and then everything changed. I fell in love with the forest, and with the Omaticaya people.
I'm glad that Jake eventually does the right thing, but what if Pandora was a miserable desert and everyone looked like f***ing Jawas? Would he still be saving them? The point is, it doesn't matter. It shouldn't come down to, well, they're quite nice and I like their trees when it comes to relocating an entire society so you can dig up their land. So we're just not going to use the Banshees right now because it'll be far cooler when they kick all the ass later? I guess that makes for a great climax, but mega sucks for anyone that dies in this scene.
All right, let's turn up the heat. Switch incendiaries.
Holy shit, that was quick. I mean, the gas will eventually work, right? Look, there is clearly an advantage here to keeping the Navi casualties to a minimum, or else slightly more sympathetic than Don't Breathe here would have been able to missile the shit out of them months ago. This sudden switch from non-lethal to f***ing burn in hell happens very quickly. Remember when they made Jake a super great Navi fighter who could wrestle a Banshee, but then he was foiled by some vine binds? Yeah, me too. It's dumb.
All call signs, switch missiles. Bring it down.
So how exactly were they using all of that intel that Jake gave to them about the interior of the tree? Forgive my untrained eye, but to me, it just looks like they're firing a ton of rockets and destroying this tree through sheer firepower.
Screw this.
Trudy is the only person that ends up siding with the good guys, and for no fathomable reason other than she appears to be played by Michelle Rodriguez. Quaritch must be drinking apple juice as all the carnage continues, just in case after 1 hour and 42 minutes we weren't certain that he was an asshole. Looks like at least some of the Navi graduated from the Prometheus School of running away from trees.
My dad.
The character stays alive just long enough to say dying words and hand down special bow cliche.
Get away! Get away from here!
Don't worry, Jake, you've got an entire third act to resolve this conflict, and I'm sure all will be forgiven despite your complicit consent to all these heinous crimes, because... Boner?
I was a warrior who dreamed he could bring peace.
No, you f***ing were not, you goddamn dirty ape! Ah, screw you, and the indignant outrage you rode in on. She knew that Selfridge was planning on relocating the Navi to get the unobtainium. That's the whole reason the last 6 years of her research has been funded, and it is criminally naive of her to think that that wasn't going to result in casualties. It took Jake less than 3 months to figure that out.
What's going on, brother? Long time no see.
Oh, sure, the one pilot who didn't fire a single missile and spontaneously abandoned their post isn't immediately locked up and is just allowed to visit the prisoners she's clearly sympathizing with. Her gunman was the top dickhead of all the grunts, and he didn't say a goddamn word to Quaritch when they returned? I suppose all the cameras in this facility were rerouted to broadcast the death of the home tree in 4K, so their race to the copter on the internal security channel is entirely missed.
It's Samson 1-6, unauthorized engine start.
If the engine starting up is the thing that alerts the command center, then why wasn't that the last thing she did? It's like we're being pushed off the Banshee cliff all over again, but this time with bullets. I guess their attempt at murdering everyone on board the ship ends with gunfire from the ground to the sky, because somehow no one on the base is interested enough to follow the defectors with any of the plethora of pursuit vehicles currently available and within eyesight.
The people can help you. I know it.
They cannot.
With no home, no hope. There was only one place they could go.
I've just listened to Dr. Grace assure everyone there are lots of trees on Pandora. Just say you made a lucky guess and that it was more convenient to end up here for the story. I think it's safe to assume the Avatar body continues to breathe and pump blood while they mindlessly sleep. So why isn't Jake waking by sputtering out all the ash he's been inhaling?
Sometimes your whole life boils down to one insane move.
Well, yeah, and you live in a f***ing movie, it does.
Something we gotta do. You're not gonna like it.
No shit. Banshee's Bond for life, and you're about to replace the only living thing that showed up for you with a newer model?
The way I had it figured, Taruk is the baddest cat in the sky. Nothing attacks him, so why would he ever look up?
So what we're saying is that only 5 people in the history of the Na'vi have figured out that flying slightly higher was the perfect tactic to catch one of these bad boys?
But that was just a theory.
A theory I cannot wait to see him put into practice, because this is going to be f***ing badass. Wait, why are we cutting away? What do you mean we're not going to see him f***ing tame the massive mango dragon? You know what morning people need more than anything? Another f***ing jump scare at their society's next most sacred place only hours after the first one was destroyed.
I was afraid, Jake.
I mean, this kind of sounds like she's apologizing to him, and she has no f***ing reason to be apologizing to the dude that infiltrated her people, seduced her, and gave her enemies the knowledge to destroy her home just because he's turned up with a tangerine-colored pterodactyl falcon.
I will fly with you.
But has anything really changed here? I could maybe buy that Natiri is willing to forgive her boyfriend, but why is capturing the Toruk enough to sway Sute too? He wanted to kill Jake even before he knew about all the betrayals. For all he cares, this alien possessing a body is trying to steal another one of their most sacred animals.
Look where we are, Grace.
But please do not ask any questions about why or how you're now naked and wrapped in vines.
The Great Mother may choose to save all that she is in this body.
How the f*** do they know how to do this? Like, is transferring the consciousness from one body to another something that comes up often? Can you do this with any 2 people that are lying down? This just seems oddly specifically designed for this exact situation.
Her wounds were too great. It was not enough time.
No f***ing shit, lady. I'm amazed she lasted this long. Grace gets shot, they pick up the lab, fly it away, we see sunrise, Jake gets his avatar on, finds his banshee, hunts down Big Bird, captures Big Bird, surprises everyone at the Tree of Souls, pets Big Bird, takes a slow walk through his adoring fans, connects with his girlfriend, fist bumps her brother, and then they f***ing wait until nightfall to do anything about Grace. Guys, she died years ago.
We rode out to the 4 winds.
Well, now that Jake is narrating from a future perspective, I guess the mystery of whether or not he survives is no longer in question. And that is the point of this, right? It's all about Jake.
To the Ikran people of the Eastern Sea.
Wait, there's an entire clan that specializes in the Banshees and they haven't figured out how to catch a Toruk either? What's going on here? Their guy on the inside is sending intel directly from the lab that is definitely being monitored. Maybe I could believe that their base had no cameras on the escape route from the brig. But this is a brig too far. Wait, a lab too far. Look, it's just stupid. Also, there were people behind Matt. Jake left him behind because he trusted him and now he's letting other people in on the intel league secret. Matt, you're an idiot.
Our great mother does not take sides, Jake. She protects only the balance of life.
Natiri is acting like Awa won't intervene, which suggests that Natiri thinks a bunch of humans destroying their home tree and stealing Pandora's resources somehow qualifies as balanced. My equestrian friends, please steal your resolve. Fake horses are about to die fantastical deaths, and there is simply nothing to be done about it, but I shall ding them. All these gunmen give Sute a chance to look like an absolute badass before eventually opening fire and giving the leader of the Omadakaya the pointless sacrifice he was apparently searching for. But hey, you look pretty cool.
Rogue One is hit. I'm going in.
Sorry, Jake.
And we're not out of pointless sacrifices yet. Apparently, these Scorpions don't have parachutes or ejection systems in case of malfunction or failure, and she's just going to allow herself to get blown up. But hey, you look pretty cool. Horse runs in slow motion through a battlefield while on fire cliché.
Jake, Awa has heard you.
Deus Awakana! Also, maybe don't yell that while there are still quite a number of enemies around. Unless Awa took out all of them by stampede, which doesn't seem very balanced at all. I don't care if it comes down to his marine experience, the guidance of Awa, or f***ing blind luck. It is military-grade levels of bullshit that Jake could predict that taking out this engine would cause the bombs to slide back inside the shuttle. Also, if he's had these grenades the whole time, why the f*** is he only pulling this stunt now? They're right on top of the Tree of Souls, so even if the shuttle just crash lands, isn't that still really bad news? Jake survives this. Super convenient that the murder-hungry colonel landed within eyesight of Jake's real body.
Nothing's over while I'm breathing.
Dialogue! Quaritch drags this out just long enough for Natiri to save the day. Way to take one for the team, Sarge.
I see you.
Skip!
The time of great sorrow was ending. Taruk Makto was no longer needed.
There are more humans, right? Like lots and lots of greedy humans. What makes Jake think that they'll so easily give up on unobtaining him? Movie ends on a character we're supposed to think could be dead until they open their eyes at the last second cliche.
Are we the baddies?
There will be no foolish wand-waving or silly incantations in this class. As such, I don't expect many of you to appreciate the subtle science and exact art that is potion making.
Nice and slow, Jake.
You got new legs. New legs. That day, for no particular reason, I decided to go for a little run.
That wasn't flying. That was falling with style.
Is Ricky passing me in my subconscious?
No, he's actually passing you. That's happening right now.
You got some hard kids showing up in this neighborhood.
Figured it's just another hellhole.
Jesus, Joseph, and doggy style, Mary. That is a pile of dog shit.
Came to learn.
Your request is not unlike your lower intestine. Stinky and loaded with danger.
To win the glow game, you just need to be the first team to find 3 things in nature that are bioluminescent.
No problem. Tally ho.
You throw a stick in the air around here, it's gonna land on some sacred fern, for Christ's sake.
How many people does it take, Admiral, before it becomes wrong? 1,000, 50,000, 1,000,000? How many people does it take, Admiral?
You were Oloektan, and you're a great warrior. I can't do this without you.
You fly now. With me.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
It's all over.
Please put down your weapon. You have 20 seconds to comply.
DC! Wake up! Wake up!